when you look at Ethereum, it has all of the elements of the lowest risk, highest quality trade. And it's a rewarding ecosystem with rewarding people in it, because there's a social element to this, there's a cultural element to this movement as well, and it's rewarding. Utilize their blockchain to transfer value, to store value, and to create applications on top. So, is elements of it money, as we talked about? Yes. Are elements of store of value? Yes. Are elements pure technology? Yes. I mean, it's everything.
Why have you singled out Ether and Ethereum as the world's greatest trade?
Well,
what about the adoption of Ethereum?
So this is the typical way I'll approach macro, and a lot of macro guys do. You've got this big thesis now, which is 100x the space in the shortest period of time. So then our job is, okay, how do I add alpha? Where do I find the better bets? Now, there will be probably 50 tokens or assets that will outperform Ethereum, but they're riskier. I don't know what they are. I have no ability to choose them. When you look at Ethereum, it has all of the elements of the lowest risk, highest quality trade. And it's a rewarding ecosystem with rewarding people in it, because there's a social element to this, there's a cultural element to this movement as well, and it's rewarding. So it's a good space to hang out where you feel comfortable with the asset, you understand how many smart people are working on it. So when you say to me, oh, there's a risk in 1559 getting done, my answer was the risk is like minuscule. And so I didn't care about it. Like ETH 2.0, it's minuscule. Why? Because there's a lot of very smart people, smarter than I'll ever be, working on it. So the probability is extremely high. And that's what makes ETH so rewarding. Right now, the marginal change is more and more people locking up ETH, right? The rate of change of people locking up is still extremely high. What will happen is the rate of change of people staking will fall. It's as simple as that. The bull case is that, of course, there's a load of people who are just going to stake and just leave it there. And that's good, because that's the long-term health of the system. Nobody's in this for the quick buck, but there's a shit ton of people, yourselves included, who will end up selling some ETH because they want to buy a house or get married or do all the stuff that costs fiat money.
Buy some NFTs though, maybe just that.
Maybe, but at some time you're going to spend some fiat money on something.
Raoul,
and it could be NFTs.
What's your preferred narrative for Ethereum? So, and then do you have a different narrative for ETH, the asset, right? There's all of these different narratives.
I think it's all being, it's people trying to overthink everything. ETH currently is a platform. That's how I think about it. It's a platform from which to utilize their blockchain to transfer value, to store value, and to create applications on top. So, is elements of it money, as we talked about? Yes. Are elements of store of value? Yes. Are elements pure technology? Yes. I mean, it's everything. So, it kind of is still the vision that Vitalik had of the kind of internet computer. It is that, but that sounds a bit restrictive. It's kind of I call it the internet of value, and you could call it the platform of value. And it's not exclusive, because others can do similar things, but nothing has the scale, the scope that Ethereum currently has. My take is the space is going up 100x. And let's say Ethereum is 90% of that space right now, and it ends up being 60% of that space. 60% of a $200 trillion market is a lot more than this. So, of course, it will not have its dominance over time. Like Bitcoin doesn't keep its dominance over time. It'll get splintered in different use cases. Other people will come in. There'll be great developments. And all of these spaces will be, 100 times the size they are now. So I think people still think of this as a zero-sum game. And it comes from the early days of adoption, because that's what networks are, these kind of behavioral incentive adoption models that the cryptocurrencies are, which is why they're so powerful. At first, it's like if you don't get adoption, you can see it being fought out in like the Hex community or some of these kind of more kind of risky, not real projects. They're fighting to keep them alive, right? So they fight against other people to get adoption. Ethereum doesn't need to do that any longer, and actually nor does Bitcoin. And one of the reasons that you were alluding to why so many people have started moving across to Ethereum as an investment was actually the Bitcoin community. They kind of screwed it up.
Go into that more.
Because they were too toxic. There are some really smart people in that space, and some people I really respect. Some people who say, listen, my view is I think over time, the monetary element is what I'm interested in, and I think Bitcoin best reflects that. And I think there's an opportunity for it to be a larger part of the global financial system, so I'm going to focus on that. I totally get it. Is there a probability that Bitcoin is money in the end? There is a probability. So I get that path, and that's their macro bet. But there's another group that was like, how dare you look at anything else? It's a shitcoin, it's a scam, it's we hate you, all of this stuff, right? Which is the same stuff we were just talking about with these others, is they spent too long on a fight that was the past. And they should have said, fine, you guys do that, we're doing this, we'll probably develop some smart contracts in due course, we got the lightning layer, this is all great, look at the space, it's all going up 100x, we're all going to get rich, and we can change the world while we're doing it, and probably solve a lot of inequality. But they did the opposite. And that I think was a huge tactical error, because people in the institutional space don't like to see that. And whether people like it or not, institutional adoption is part of the story.
So let's talk about some of the catalysts coming up for ETH then, right? So we talked about EIP 1559, we talked about staking. Is the merge as well part of the calculus, right? Because we're going to see this triple point, this three-part halvening. We're going to see like a massive reduction in supply. Is this the bull case? Is it mainly from a supply side, or is there a demand side?
Knowing how markets work, this is going to catch a lot of people by surprise. It is all in the run-up where the money will be made. My guess is the moment ETH 2.0 happens, half of the ETH gets unlocked. And it all comes onto the market and the price will collapse. It's typical. Yeah, and that's a short-term thing. It might be an overhang for a year. I mean, who the hell knows, right? But that's pretty obvious that this is the best single time. That's why I call it the greatest trade between now and ETH 2.0. Everybody wants it to happen. They're going to lock up as much ETH as possible and get the yield. It's as simple as that. But when it comes out, chance ETH collapses. If you remember when Coinbase went public, everyone's like, this is so good for the space. Everyone's going to know about it. What did it do? Marked the exact high in Bitcoin. And I'd mentioned that on Twitter beforehand. I'm like, this is what it's going to do. And it will. And this will probably mark the high in ETH.